Good morning. It's Friday morning. Time for another episode of Fridays with Frank. I'm Scott Cullen, editor-in-chief of the Cannata Report. It is wonderful to be with you this morning. And before I bring Frank out, don't forget to do the usual like, subscribe, comment, and send Frank your questions. He loves to respond to those. So, hey, Frank, how you doing? And what's on your mind this morning?
Well, I had an interesting experience. I went and reviewed the two prior Fridays with Frank episodes and to see if there was something that we can kind of continue on that are worthy of further discussion. And I think the one that we talked about, profitability being a significant concern for so many people in the business. You know, what can we do about it in terms of honing in our expenses? I think the question of expenses is always, yeah, you increase your productivity, you're going to reduce your expenses. That's basic. Now, how do we do that? Now, in the dealership, it means upticking on your staff. And from what I can see, dealers have some of the greatest tenure in their organizations than anybody I've ever heard of or ever have been associated with. So people like working there, they're happy. But it seems to me that they have some trouble recruiting. And I've heard that in the past, it's the old story, 20% of your sales force does 80% of the business and that kind of stuff. So they're always looking for people to employ. Now, I do some work with my alma mater, which is Seton Hall, and I speak at several of the meetings during the course of the year about business in general and what their approach should be and the things that employers value the most, that kind of thing. I can't get any of them turned on to our industry. Now, also on our gala, we have, this year we had three highly successful students helping out. And I talked to them about the business casually and I explained what the meeting is and so forth and so on. They express no interest at all in finding out anything more once I tell them what the business is. So it's evidently not a very attractive industry to young people. But I still think there is much to be offered them. Every once in a while, one of the teachers will ask me to talk about sales and marketing at one of the classes. So obviously, anybody who's into that sales and marketing has definitions for certain things. And one of the critical definitions is in sales and marketing is the role of distribution. It is and according to the textbook, it is the role of distribution to satisfy demand, not create demand. Okay? It's pretty logical. So I have some fun with when I get a task like that. I say, how would you like to hear about a distribution that created demand? Oh, no, Mr. Cannata, that's not possible. That is no way possible, Mr. Cannata. I said, well, let me tell you from my own personal experience. And I go through the 1970s with the copier industry and how the Japanese manufacturers were new to the US. And one of the quickest ways they can get into the market was through dealers. But at the same time, they didn't have enough resources to build a very strong direct sale operation, which they ultimately did. But in the beginning, it was pretty much relying on the dealers selling a new product in an area that customers never had any experience with, never heard about it. And why should I buy from you? I've been buying from an American manufacturer for years. Why should I buy from a Japanese manufacturer? Japanese manufacturers don't make good products. They're shoddy, they're cheap, and they don't work. So those are the things we all had to overcome at one point or another in our careers. And it makes for a very, very interesting discussion. So I guess part of the turn down on it comes from the misconception of what dealers really do and fully do. Yes, they don't create demand, but they know how to use the tools that are given to them or the equipment that's given to them as tools to improve the proficiencies of their clients. And that, in many cases, takes far more than just saying, let me show you the features and the benefits from our product. So I guess what I'm saying is you got to do a better job in recruiting younger people. And I know there are dealers who attend college fairs. That I know is a fact. So maybe not enough of them are doing it. I can't say. But typically when you visit with a dealer and you talk to people on their staff, they're all very tenured. But by the same token, we're moving into an era of AI. I think that this is something that these young people seem to be gravitating towards in a big way, and how to use it. That could be a clue or a tip of the direction you have to take when you perhaps have an opportunity to interview somebody who's coming out of college. I don't know of any other industry. I only worked in one other industry to any great extent. That was the furniture industry. And there was nowhere near the opportunity in the furniture industry than there is on what we experience in the copier business. So that's my frame of reference. If profitability, and I think it's absolutely true, is a real concern, then hiring more proficient, better educated people that can be trained and want to be trained. There's two sides of the coin here. This can't be all one way. This has got to be somebody who buys into the commitment. The first thing I thought of when I was at a meeting, I was at Konica Minolta meeting in Sarasota, Florida last year. I lose track of when it was. It was a while ago. And Laura Blackman was talking about AI. And they had engaged a firm that very much into that field, and they did a video, which was excellent. So there's ways that people who are proficient or aware of AI and how to use it got to be bringing a benefit to a dealership. So that's another side of the coin of how you can recruit by saying, what's your knowledge of AI? Well, let me tell you some of the things you might be able to use it for. One of the things you do in sales and in marketing are proposals. And it's relatively easy to go to AI to help you get something done very quickly. And that's just my own weird thought for the moment, if you will. And I just think that that's possible. But I think the bottom line is it should be done. And I think in many ways it has to be done. Because I think dealers have to come to the realization that the business model has to change without question. I can't see how anybody could not see that. I think we see evidence of that every year in our surveys. And there's no question that fewer and fewer dealers are out there simply because they're throwing up their hands and they say, I'm done. Just let me sell, let me get out, get what I can while I can. And those that are staying in are reaping the benefit. How long does that last? And what is the end result? I think the good news is for those that are not hanging in, but taking advantage of it, are building a business that is more, shall we say, broader in their outlook, more apt to be into areas that some other dealers would never go. Just as we discussed in the previous Fridays with Frank about textile printing as being a future product. That's my story, Scott.